Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's podcast at We Eat Fish Eat in the studio once again with the one and only Hunter Flanders. Say, Mr. Flanders, let's talk a little bit. We got a lot of things to talk about this week. We're going to kind of get into the CWD thing.
Oh, boy.
I know it. I'm going to hold back on you guys a little bit. I'm not going to fire all barrels, but I'm gonna be more than a single shot, maybe a double barrel.
Maybe a pump.
Hey, why don't you let's talk a little bit about this critter here.
This is the Rite Gordian Slug, and I got a job at Rite now, so that's good. You know, having a job's a good thing. So this is a really great gun. Right, we got a Vortex on here right now. Rifled barrel. All Rites come with our patented Inertia Plus system. So a rollover bolt head. There's a tension spring in here. So using it on deer drives, crawling through the brush, things like that. Like it's not going to get hung up. You'll have that click. This is going to roll over every single time. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Lifetime warranty on it. Deep bore drilled barrel. It's got the cantilever on here. And one thing I want to show you, Larry. Look underneath the scope there once. See your sight?
Yeah, I do see my sight. Yeah, that's kind of nice too.
So there's a little
nice.
dovetail in here, adjustable sight. You got a true glow sight on the top, but last light or whatever, you're doing a deer drive, you can't find it in the scope. Just look underneath here. I can kind of show you guys that. Look through here, and you can end up seeing your true glow sight. So this is a really, really great gun. This is kind of getting Rite in the deer hunting realm of things. We got some really cool products that are coming out next year. They're a little bit more in the deer hunting stuff, but for you guys who still like to slug gun hunt in Wisconsin, some of the rules have changed where you can hunt with a rifle and not, but Iowa, Minnesota this year yet, Illinois, Michigan, there's definitely areas where you can only use shotgun or muzzleloader or straight walled.
So way to go.
The Gordian slug gun.
Hey, the cool part too about Rite is that again the lifetime warranty, but the guns are a lot cheaper than some of the bigger brand names, and when you look at that, you're like, oh, why is it so cheap, right? Why is it such a cheaper gun? But the big thing is with it, again, it's got a lifetime warranty on it.
Right, and it's not a cheap gun by any means.
No, not at all.
I think with some of those other brands, you're paying for that name.
Right.
Just like anything else, you buying a GMC, you're paying that versus a different brand truck or whatnot. So I think a lot of that in the price tag is with the name. These guns are definitely not cheaply made. Like I said, lifetime warranty as well. So when you got the Vortex and the Rite on there, lifetime warranty, I mean, you could chuck that off a cliff and you'll be good. So.
Well, try not to.
I know you're hard on deer hunting stuff.
Right. I am hard on pretty much everything.
It's the season.
I am. Yes, this is the season. And one thing I found out the other day is that, we have a farm up in Minnesota, and I was not real happy with it going to rifle. And but here's the deal. There's nothing really set in stone. There is gonna be areas of Minnesota that we're shocking that eventually have in 2026 that are gonna go to rifle, but they're gonna actually leave it up to the counties as far as if they're gonna let that slide to use rifles. So I'm hoping in our county that it stays shotgun. I'm a big muzzleloader guy. I mean, I've got Bartline muzzleloaders, and I can take some pretty decent shots. Single shot. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing about...
We care about the deer.
We care about the deer.
This is going to start the whole...
We definitely care about the deer.
You're a deer guy, and now that you got the Minnesota land and you've owned farms your whole life, tell me how your hunter's arc of how you care about the wildlife and the work that you put in versus just the kill, right? It's not about the kill anymore. But
no.
What does it mean to you when you're sitting in your stand opening day and you're seeing, deer on your land?
Well, the thing is that, and this is the way I look at it, everybody, is that I'm very passionate about these animals, right? And I'm an animal guy. The older I get, the more I want to hunt, the less I actually want to kill deer. But I certainly want to see the next generation after that, get involved in hunting, deer hunting. It doesn't matter if it's with a bow, a crossbow, or a shotgun, a rifle, whatever. But deer hunting is a very positive thing. It is. You think about this, how many people have learned how to handle firearms when it comes to deer hunting. I mean, if it wasn't for deer hunting, I mean, there would be a minute amount of people that actually have firearms, right? Especially when you look at the amount of people that deer hunt, in especially Wisconsin, Minnesota. But there's so much to the deer thing, and a lot of it, like you're saying, is I get more excited in the spring, waiting to see my first couple fawns running around the farm. I get excited about, planting the food plots, planting more trees, more habitat for these animals. When you think about like the amount of money that most people spend on between their gear and habitat for their animals in land, right? Land is a huge thing, it's an astronomical amount of money and
time,
right?
Insane.
So, you got to look at it way past, the harvesting part of the animal and look into it more deep. And that's the part that really concerns me about this whole CWD thing. And I want to kind of bust into this a little bit. We're not going to get super radical on it, but there's a lot to it, and I think people just need to kind of step back and take a look at it and do things that make sense. Right?
Logical, yes.
Logical, right?
We were just talking before, and like you said, we're not going to get super crazy. Like, Uncle Ted, he likes to get worked up about this stuff.
And I'm glad we have Uncle Ted.
We got to have people
do that, right?
And, when we started talking about doing the podcast again, this was like the first thing we're like, dude, we got to do it on CWD because we are both very passionate about it and how it's perceived. But like, we have a platform to talk about these things, just like the walleye population in the bay. That got a lot of buzz. They got a lot of people talking. Then we brought the DNR in, and they showed us the numbers. And like you said, it's just like you look at things and take a step back and then make your judgment of it, right? Like, let people think.
The weird part about that whole thing on the walleye thing is, like, we haven't really had a good hatch since 2018. And so we started, like, you think, like, we started really getting into this walleye thing, and, we got a big issue, big problem. And now they're looking at this, like, from what their fall surveys of this hatch that we had.
It's a record.
It's a record hatch. Like, wow, Mother Nature
bounces back, man. She's always like this.
But, when it comes to this is the whole thing about CWD that bothers me the most, is that when you look at the low percentage of animals that actually have it, and, you're killing all these other animals that don't have it, and you can't tell by, like, when you're a sharpshooter for the DNR or for the feds or whatever it is, you can't tell by looking at that animal that it has chronic wasting disease.
Very rarely, right? Until it's at the later stages of it, which is most hunters, 99% of you will never see a deer like that. And if you have, like, definitely comment, let us know that you have seen one that was emancipated and walking like a zombie and stuff like that, because we've never seen one.
No.
And so, like, what we're just kind of saying is, like, let's just take a step back here, okay? CWD, what is it? Chronic wasting disease. It's been around for how long, Larry?
It's been around since
I've been deer hunting.
The 50s, right?
Yeah,
the 50s. And that's the whole thing. I mean, I got so many stories to tell you about CWD. I used to raise deer and elk at home, and when that whole thing came down in Wisconsin, I don't know, I had 80 some whitetails, and I had almost 40 elk at home, and it just we had everything went under quarantine, right? Which we were using the elk, selling the velvet off the elk. At that time it was used for traditional Chinese medicine, and the deer we were selling to shooter farms, and because there's a lot of people that don't have all the time in the world, and that's their way to hunt is by going to these game farms and to eat their own, right? More power to them. So, and the other part is that I've dealt with it, by having this farm up in Minnesota. It used to be really tight regulations where you could only shoot one buck a year, and it had to have 4 on one side. So you could either shoot your buck with only 1 buck a year, with either your bow, your muzzle loader, your shotgun. Yeah, and that was it. And now it's wide open, right? You can shoot a buck with all three. You can shoot 3 bucks if you want. And it just has changed the whole region. And that's the sad part about it. When you look at, I think there's only been, like, in that whole area, 1 or 2 deer found with chronic wasting disease, and they've killed thousands of them. And, this is the thing. I'm an ethical kind of guy, and I got a soft spot in me. But when I hear that their sharpshooters are coming in at night on these farms in December, January, and February, dumping massive piles of bait down, and then just shooting these deer at night with thermals, with obviously with suppressors on them, it's just like, it kind of makes you sick. Like, why would you take something that God has created and absolutely kill it? And every one of these animals goes to the landfill.
Well, I think even then, we got to take a step back. I don't think there's people who know about this, Larry.
Right.
Like, we personally know people who have been hired by certain cities around the metro area of Milwaukee who get paid to go shoot deer.
And it's not even that.
Suburban areas.
Suburban areas and out in rural areas,
and
too.
country areas.
That's the problem, though. A lot of times, like, you'll think you
people are knowledgeable, right?
You have a really good deer herd, and all of a sudden you're wondering, like, where did all my deer go?
Right.
Like, if your neighbor, 5 miles away, 3 miles away, agrees to let people, the sharpshooters, come in and eradicate these deer, you'll never know it, because, like I said, they're all using suppressors. They're doing it at night.
Night
it's
vision.
it's sad. But here's the thing. I don't understand why you would kill all these animals when most of them don't even have it. Right?
Well, hold on. We got to get back to logics here, right?
Okay.
We're logical people. We try to be. I don't know if
A little bit,
that's my
once in a
life. I'm
while.
not very logical.
Yep.
But, okay, so CWD supposedly is spread through the prions in the ground, right?
Right.
Spread through feces, saliva, things like that. Well, so the goal is, don't bait, right? Because deer's gonna lick the pile, another deer's gonna walk up, and it could spread that way, right? Okay, that makes sense, right?
So I just want to I want to stop you right here on that. So if anybody, I raise deer, and I'm a huge deer guy. But if anybody has ever watched deer, they're extremely social, right?
And what do they do,
always
Larry?
touching mouse all the time,
Making out.
They're all right. So I mean, that's a hard one for me to choke down, right?
Yeah, we're just trying to be logical here,
just
right?
logic.
So if the goal is you can't bait because it's spread through, bait piles and saliva, every fawn that's born, what does the mom do?
Licks it all the
Licks
time.
it clean.
Right.
And then they're licking each other in the mouth. They're hitting scrapes. Come up, lick a branch. Next year comes up, lick a branch. Pee on the ground. They smell the ground. Like, logically, let's think about this, people. If the reason they don't want CW to spread, not baiting, is because it's spread through saliva, you're not stopping it by that, because every deer is licking each other anyway. They communicate through that. Okay? So that's illogical. So that does not make any sense, right?
No.
Okay. So then that's one thing, right? Every deer is licking each other no matter what anyways. Second, let's talk about the sharpshooter thing. So like cities, towns who have, everyone knows about a town like Wapaka's crazy. Like, amount of deer you drive at night, they're everywhere, right? So maybe there is a huge number of deer. So they want to get rid of this deer so people are not hitting them, yada, yada, yada. People are mad they're eating their flowers and stuff. Okay, so they'll bring in people, cities, and sometimes DNR will bring in people to shoot these deer at night. They bring in dump trucks, loads of bait, corn, whatever it is. Sharpshooter then sits on them, and he has to shoot every deer that comes to the pile. Buck, doe, 200-incher, 120-incher, fawn, button buck, anything that comes to that bait pile gets shot, okay?
Right. And it goes
wiped out.
And it doesn't go to a food pantry.
Nope. Getting thrown right out. The guys who shoot the bucks, like, you think, oh, I'm going to do this, right? This will be great. No, you can't keep anything. It's all get shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you don't even know if these deer have it, like you said earlier, unless they're walking up like a zombie. You just wiped out every deer in the area there. And like Larry said, if you have a farm next to somebody, and most of you people, if you have heard about this, great. If you haven't, like, this is why we're talking about this, because your neighbor, they'll come to you and be like, oh yeah, you have CWD, we're trying to knock down the deer numbers. Hey, can we do this? And the farmer will be like, yeah, they're eating all my corn. I want them gone, right? Well, they come in there and wipe everything else. So you go out next season, you don't see a deer. You have no idea what just happened. They just shot 50, blah, blah, blah deer. 100 deer.
300.
It's insane.
Right.
That's not logical to me at all, right?
And it's not. And I think, and I don't know how to really bring this across to everybody, is that everybody's so panicked on
scare tactic.
Scare tactic on eating a deer that's got CWD. For one thing, it's just a minute number that have it. And the other thing is that, the chances of you contracting that are basically 0 to none, right? So, and I say this, and I'm 100% on this. I just don't. I'm the kind of guy. No matter you go to somebody's house, you go to a restaurant, you're at your own house. When I take a plate of food, no matter what is on that plate, it's gone.
You clean your plate.
I do not believe in wasting food. Yeah. So that's the part that bothers me the most, is seeing these animals being absolutely wasted.
Right.
When I think it's absolutely crazy. Like, I'm serious about this. if you're one of them, if you're one of them people that has land, like in Richland Center, in that area, at other places where they test constantly for CWD, where you take your deer in, they test it, you take it home, you get it processed, and you wait till that test comes back because it doesn't come back right away.
Right.
And so, and you have that meat in your freezer, and it's all processed, and you are worried about that meat, and you throw it in the garbage. I really would ask you that you call me, because I will come and pick that meat up, and I cannot buy it from you, right? I can't pay for the processing, can't do any of that. But if you're going to throw that meat out, I will definitely come. If you get a positive test, I will definitely come, and I will pick that meat up, and I will eat it, and I will feed it to my family.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the wasting thing is what it comes down. It's just like insane to me. And that's just like, there's so many other instances with certain laws, and just like where you have to waste, like the sandhill crane thing. You get a sandhill crane tag. The farmers who have damage tags, they have to let the crane lay. Right. Like, that's not logical to me at all. Like, you're just wasting. I mean, that is like the core of being a hunter and outdoorsman fisherman, not to waste what you keep, what you shoot, you know? It's just insane to me. And like, we wanted to talk about this because deer season's right around the corner in Wisconsin, gun seasons, and we all know it's a huge deal. We just want you guys to think about this before this upcoming season. And you'll see posts from, big names in the industry. There's certain people like, oh, CWD, it's a real problem. Real deal, real deal. We're not saying CWD is not real.
It's not real.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
But there's larger fish to fry, and the same data that they've had or same information they've had 20 years ago is the same thing they're saying today. They haven't figured anything out more.
No, and here's an interesting story. It's 100% true. So the first year, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know, everything flies by, that we had the CWD in our area in Minnesota where they proclaimed that we had CWD. Anyways, I was sitting in a stand and I saw a doe with a radio collar on it, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting,
Yeah.
And anyways, that Tuesday I had to go home for the day and get some stuff done before it came back up. So I stopped down in Rushford, and there was a bunch of biologists down there, and they had everything roped off, and they were testing. It was a testing site, And I pulled in there, and a guy was a great guy, nice guy, came up and walked up to me and said, hey, can I help you with something? And I said, hey, I saw this deer with a radio collar on it, just kind of wanted to know what that was all about. And he had told me they had tagged a whole bunch of deer with, tranquilized them and put radio collars on to see how far they actually travel. I said, okay, I just wanted to know that. And then I turned around and was walking back. And he said, hey, you don't want to know anything about CWD? And I said, well, I'm just going to tell you this right now. I don't have an issue with you, and you don't have an issue with me, and I kind of just want to leave it that way. And he kind of looked at me and said, why would you be like that? And so I said, well, I just want to tell you something. I know a little bit about CWD. I'm no expert, and but I've got a little bit of common sense. So I just got one thing. I just got a question I want to ask you then. He's like, go ahead. So CWD has been around since the 50s. We all agree with that. It's been in so many different states. I live in Wisconsin. It was a huge thing there.
Out west.
Yeah, we spent, I forget, $50, $60, $70 million on research in Wisconsin, and all the data that's been done out west too. Like, there's been hundreds of millions of dollars spent on data on CWD. I just want to ask you this. With all the data that's already out there, right, that all this money's been wasted on, what are you going to do differently than any of the other states have already done? He looked at me, turned around, and walked back to his truck. Right? And it's just a simple question. You know what I'm saying? Like, what more can you actually do
to stop the spread?
I mean, pretty much we all know it's in the ground, right? I mean, so, and again, it's one of them kind of things where, like, if you are to that point that you're not deer hunting because you're worried about shooting an animal with CWD, you need to do a lot more research on it, because
CWD,
that's definitely something that you do not want to stop hunting because of it.
Yeah. And like you said, like beginning of the podcast, like we're all about getting the next generation, having the resource left for that. And you think of how many deer get shot, and like you just sharpshooters and things like that. and how much money is spent on this, and they haven't gotten anywhere. Nothing's improved, right? CWD still spreading. More deer are getting or having it. And I was listening to a podcast today by somebody else, and he kind of said the same thing. It's like CWD is a lot like cancer, right? Like you're not going to see a deer, the average lifespan of a deer, let's just say 3-4 years old, right?
Yeah.
The actual cause is they're going to get shot, they're going to get hit by a car,
Wolves, coyotes,
coyote, bear, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to see the effects of CWD until that deer gets old, right? So most of these deer you're not even going to see the effects anyway. You're not going to know they have it, so you can't stop that deer. Oh yeah, we know that deer has it. Let's keep it away from the rest of them or shoot it before it gets. No, you're not going to know the effects of it until it gets older in life. So you think of all these issues like you can't stop the spread versus a problem like EHD. And for those of you who don't know what EHD is, Esmoic hemorrhage disease, or I know I mispronounced.
That's real stuff.
That's a real deal. And it's spread by a midge fly. It lays the eggs in the mud of, like ponds and rivers and stuff like that, kind of sloughs. And so like out west, so states and areas that get hit by droughts really bad, it affects them very bad because that water recedes down and this midge has all this perfect habitat to hatch. So the deer go down, drink water. They're congregated in there because there's not a lot of water around. The midge bites the deer and it's spread, and the deer will die typically within the next month or so. And you will find dead deer everywhere.
That's a horrible death.
It will literally wipe out your deer herd. These deer get a high fever, bleeding. They walk around. You find them in water holes and creeks because they can't drink enough water because they're so warm from the fever. Like we're talking, people will lose their whole deer herds. This is a legit issue, and where's the money getting spent on that?
I'd like to see the money spent on that.
I think about this a lot. Like there is certain parts of our state that does see EHD. But like, I'm so thankful that we don't have it. Like you talk about these states like in Iowa and Missouri where like, they got a lot of big bucks.
Dakotas.
Yes, they can spare a few deer, I think.
Right.
And no one wants to see that anyway. But like, can you imagine here, Larry, with the number of deer that we have compared to those other states? If we had EHD, it would probably wipe out the deer herd.
It would do a lot of damage. I'm hoping that obviously that never happens, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like nowadays in life there's always something new coming up, right?
Right.
I always wonder, not that I'm a paranoid person because I'm certainly not, but I always wonder like where does all this stuff come from?
Right.
We've had deer forever. Where do all these new diseases come from? Well, here's the thing I've always wondered too about like all these areas where there's, high numbers of, especially on the big highways, high numbers of deer kills. They go to the extent of putting up a 4-foot fence. Why not put up like an 8-foot fence so the deer can't jump over on the highways, right? I mean, why not? I mean,
build it a little taller, right?
Yeah, a little bit taller. Well, I mean, there's maybe a few deer will make it, but I can tell you, I mean, I raised deer, and that's what we had was 8-foot stretch wire around, and
even a 6-foot would probably deter half of them.
They never jumped over that. So to me, it would just make sense if I'm like lobbying for something, I would lobby for like the highway department instead of putting 4-foot, put 8-foot up, right? Right. I mean, there's so many different things to do when you try to keep everything in some kind of a balance,
versus,
right?
Just killing all the deer for no reason. Yeah, I mean, just like, as hunters, we have the job to manage the resource and like obviously not waste what we have. So, you have a problem with deer. I know plenty of people who don't have very good places to hunt that would gladly come shoot your deer if you hate your deer, or blah, blah, blah city has too many deer. Hey, hand out some archery tags, let people hunt in specific zones. And there's cities who definitely do that. We appreciate that.
Which is a great idea.
It's a great thing, right? Hand out X amount of tags, let people hunt in certain designated areas, certain times of the year. And if you want to manage your deer population, I think that's an awesome way to do it. That's what we're here as hunters to do that, right? It's part of our job.
Well, and again, it goes back to this. My main concern is that I mean, you can say whatever you want, why they do this, why they don't do that. My main concern, again, is two things, is to keep getting the next generation involved in the sport of hunting because, it really is, I always look at it this way. As a hunter, I just think you value life a lot more than being a non-hunter. I do. Yeah. That's my personal opinion, because I can just tell you this: when you kill an animal, it doesn't matter if it's a squirrel, a rabbit, a pheasant, a deer, a bear, there is a sense of remorse that comes from that, right? And you really value the whole thing about
the life's gone now.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Even though, and again, you're utilizing that animal, you don't just shoot an animal to shoot it. You shoot it because obviously it's something that you're going to enjoy to eat.
Yeah.
And it's the sport of it. And it just grounds you, right? You know how precious life really is.
Right. Yeah. It's there's definitely an aspect to that. And your hunter's arc as you get older, when you're young, I know you were like this too. You want to kill everything. You had the
Red Rider get mounted.
Yeah.
Right?
You had the Red Rider in the backyard. You're shooting, shooting birds off the bird feeder, and you're just trying to prove yourself as a young hunter that, you can do it. And then you get a little bit older, and then, how many deer can you mount? How many big bucks? And then all of a sudden you get a little older and you have kids, and it's like not about you anymore. Getting your kids into it. And then all of a sudden your kids are old enough, and then you're just going out to the point where you're not even hunting anymore. You're just going out to sit in the woods.
Yeah, I got to tell you this story. So it just reminded me when I was, 6, 8 years old, I had a wrist rocket, right? That's what I started hunting with first. And it was in the summer. I got this wrist rocket. I was so gun-ho to kill something with it. And I had shot a robin with it. I know they're protected, but I had shot a robin and killed that robin. And, God, I looked at that bird and I actually started crying.
Yeah.
I never killed another one after that, just because I'm like, robins are so beautiful and so cool. And I'm a bird guy. I love birds. I got tons of birds at home. But, again, it kind of it made me think about things a lot, like how easy it is to kill something. And how precious life really is.
You can't replace that life.
No,
right?
you can't. Yeah. So, and I think, without really having them experiences and being young like that, I think that I can understand why sometimes things go in bad ways with these kids, right?
Yes.
It's crazy.
And like we've said it on the wall, I think too, it's really comes down to the people to, the regulations are there, right? You can go up to the extent of the regulations. If you get 10 deer tags, you can legally fill 10 deer tags. If you can keep 10 walleyes, you can keep 10 walleyes. But does that always mean you should do that? Us as outdoorsmen, hunters, fishermen, we kind of get a feel of what's going on out there, right? We know there's not as many, fish this year as there were last year. We're not seeing as many deer this year. Does that mean you fill every single tag you got just because you got them?
No.
And you can't just be like, the blah, blah, blah says, we obviously have these tags. That means we can shoot that many. No, it's up to us. We spend our time out there. You know what's going on. You should know what's going on, right? It's not just about filling your tag. See what's going on. You don't always have to shoot everything, and that it comes to us too at the farm before you get that to it. Where we hunt too, a lot of neighbors, a lot of pressure, a lot of hunting, right? And we're very fortunate, we have worked on and manage it and have food plots and stuff. And I would say there's a time of the year we have a lot of the deer in the area in by us. And, the 4 of us that hunt, if we filled every tag that we had, I would tell you in about 3 to 4 years, there would not be much around.
No, that's true. I was just kind of thinking about that. I was going through social media the last couple of days and seeing a lot of deer people are getting, because it's that time of year. Things are moving. The rut's on, so there's a lot of movement. Corn's coming down. And I seen 3 posts where they said, there's so many great things somebody could have said. And the whole thing was, yep, I punched my tag, right? I'm just like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. That's a weird thing to say, at least in my mind.
Yeah.
I punched my tag. I hope that, and maybe I read it wrong, but I took it wrong. I just hope that it was more than punching your tag is what it meant by killing that animal, right?
Yeah.
It's just
right.
kind of
just not filling your tag, right? I don't know. What hunter's arc are you in, Larry, in the point of your life? I always feel like it starts here and then you end up here. Where are you at on the bell curve?
I'm on the point now that I really, for the most part, don't really care so much about killing an animal. I love to eat deer meat. It's one of my favorite things to eat.
Yeah.
That's why I'll take any deer that somebody has processed that they don't want to eat it because it has CWD. But I'm to that point now where, I always say, oh, we got to kill some does off the farm. And all of a sudden this doe comes out and I'm looking at her going, oh, she got a fawn coming with her. Oh, I can't kill her, right?
Yeah.
You're right. Or she's, oh, that's a young doe. Oh, that one's too old. You come up with a lot of excuses, and I never thought in my life that I'd ever get to that point, because my dad, I've said this before on podcasts, is my dad, as a kid growing up, he was one violating son of a buck, right? He killed everything and anything. And later in his life, he got to this, this guy was a killer, right? Mm-hmm. And he was a great poacher, right? If there is a great poacher, he never, ever got caught. The guy, he never got a ticket. I got 3 tickets one time. for duck hunting, and my dad was so mad at me, made me sell my shotgun, and the only reason he was mad is
Because you got caught.
because I got caught, right? And I just look at that whole thing about, like, maybe back then there was a little bit of an excuse because
Money was tight.
There wasn't a lot of food, whatever, right? I'm just digging for why he did what he did, but I certainly look at, like, when he got older in life, he just didn't want to kill anything anymore, right? And it just was so fascinating to see a guy that went to the extremes to kill everything. I could do a whole podcast on the times I was with my dad, and the amount of poaching he did. It was astronomical, right? From flying down the highway at 60 miles an hour, shooting out the window.
Yeah, just crazy stuff.
It's crazy, But anyways, so
seeing a guy, his arc change.
Seeing that arc change, and I never was. I mean, I did a little poaching when I was younger, and I always got caught. God damn it! I always got caught. Right? I wasn't a good poacher. Well, thank God for that.
Yeah, thank
right?
God for that.
But you get to that point in your life where you just, what, and as a fishing guide too, like, I say this whenever the day comes when I stop guiding,
which is never going to happen.
Right. All right. I don't know about that, but I don't see it in the future. But when that day comes, I definitely will probably only fish muskies and flatheads.
Yeah.
Because I'll let them all go.
Right.
I won't even fish walleyes anymore. Yeah. But anyways, it's just a change in life. And again, the whole podcast really was, basically to hear what your thoughts are, you guys, on CWD. Why are so many people so panicked about it when there's really no evidence anywhere out there at all that it does any harm to human beings? It doesn't wipe out your deer herd. It just use a little bit of common sense, right?
Yeah,
that's all.
I think the funny thing too is, like you said, like wiping out your deer herd. A lot of these areas that they say you have CWD, they have a ton of deer. Like a ton of deer, more deer than they have by us. And they have, like, these are like you said, like Richland County, things like that, the southwestern part of the state. Like, there's tons of deer around. Right. Like, if you had a disease that was that bad that you're so scared about that it's going to wreck the population, like, how do these areas have such a high population of deer? Right. Logical. Let's just start thinking here.
Yep.
That's all we want you guys to do. Just wanted you to think. So we definitely want you, we wish you the best of luck this year at deer season. Have a very safe season. Enjoy it with your loved ones, friends and family, your deer camps. That's what it's all about. One day you won't be doing it anymore. Enjoy that opening day like it'll be your last, because you never know.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I can remember as a kid growing up, you had to be 12 to hunt, and I can remember my first year when I was old enough and I was going to be able to hunt on my own, right? Yeah. I'll tell you what, for a month, I wasn't worth a damn in school. Right?
You probably weren't sleeping.
That's all I was thinking about, right? But again, I always look at it this way. Every time in my life that I've steered in the wrong direction, and there's been plenty of them times, the thing that's always pulled me back has always been the fishing and hunting.
Yeah.
And that was the whole thing about the show, why we started the show. It's all about to influence and show people how positive it is to be involved in the outdoors, right? And we're not ripping on the insurance companies. We're not ripping on the DNR. We want things to be on an even playing field.
We want resources for the next generation.
We do. That's all I care about. Everything else, who cares?
Yeah. I mean, it's, hunting and fishing is a lot more enjoyable when you're seeing stuff, you're having action. I think these young kids got to earn it a little bit too, like we did. I mean, I'm sure you had time sitting in the stand, you freeze your hiney off.
Oh, yeah.
I know you once made me freeze my hiney off and did not let me come in. Personally, we all have those stories hunting with your grandpa or your dad or your mom or whoever it is, and they made you sit and you weren't seeing anything and you got so cold. And now you look back at those times. I mean, that's just like your memory book of like your hunting arc, right? Like, how did you get from here to here? And we want the kids to, experience that too. And like I said, it's such a positive thing, being passionate about something that's so good for you. There's so many bad things in this world that you can be passionate about and, that can steer you in the wrong direction, be addicted to. But being passionate about the outdoors is such a good thing. And having the resource to be passionate about, that's all we want. So we want you guys to think about that. So next time you're sitting in the stand this year in your box blind, or hell, if you're sitting on the couch watching hunting shows, just start thinking about this, right? Like, resource for the next generation. We don't want this to go away. So just here to bring it to you guys.
Awesome. Hunter Flanders,
Yes.
good luck hunting this
You
year.
too.
You're going on a hunting trip
Yes.
this week. Where are you going?
Going to Montana.
Okay.
Montana mule deer hunting. So we'll see how that goes. Smack dab middle of the Wisconsin rut, and I'm not happy about it. But I got outvoted to go this week, but I enjoyed the time nonetheless.
That's awesome. Hey, real quick, what made you decide to go to Rite and for a new job?
Well, definitely known some guys that work there. And really, I think the cool thing about Rite is like a lot of people haven't heard about it. And so to be a part of a company and a product.
And they've been around quite a while.
Yeah, they've been around for probably 10 years or so. And so to be a part of a really good product that I can not only stand behind, which is the most important thing that I ever do, so I can look you in the eye and tell you that this is a worthwhile shotgun to spend your money on, your hard-earned money on, is that there's a lot of potential here. It's going to grow. We have a ton of new products that are going to come out. Everything on this gun and all of our guns have been thought about from people who do use the guns, whether you like to shoot trap or, plink in your backyard or hunt. The features on these guns have been thought about to make your time more enjoyable in the outdoors. So if you guys haven't heard about Rite, head to riteusa.com. If you want to look at a gun, head to our dealer locator on our website to find a dealer near you. Head to our YouTube channel. We have a bunch of hunts, a bunch of informational videos on there. You can learn more. And Larry's been shooting a few this year too.
I have. Hey, and I wasn't saying that in a cocky way. If you are that person and deer does have CWD and it's already processed in the freezer, I will definitely have somebody come pick it up. Again, we can't pay for it. That's against the law, but I do not want to see that meat go to waste. I will eat it and I will feed it to my family. Hey, everybody, you know what? Thing that I always strongly believe in is that there's no doubt that there is a God, and we're very blessed to live in this country, and thank goodness that he watches over us and protects us. And I want you guys to know it is a great day to be alive. We'll see you next week.